Hey, how's it going, everybody? I want to give my weekly update, weekend review of the Innovation and Open Source Learning class. I believe we're on week 7. We just wrapped up week 7. And a couple things that were on my mind this week that I want to talk about. One is, prioritizing. And then the other one is the reality of what happens when you give students freedom. Talking about the prioritizing part, I don't know if I've explained this in other videos or not, but I only teach this class one period a day. It's the last period of the day at the high school, and so the rest of the day I'm not teaching in traditional classrooms. I'm actually an instructional coach at district level, focusing mostly on integrating technology. So I have a lot of other day-to-day and high-level projects and responsibilities, and I can't give this class the attention that I really think it needs. It doesn't, not for a lack of trying, and I'm getting better at it, but where I'm seeing it impact my ability to really be there for students is, as important as other content areas are, I just feel an imperative to be able to be that life preserver, or that life preserver for students when they get stuck, when they're lost, when they're floundering, and they need me. And that needing me part is, I think, probably more apparent now in the beginning of the year, while students are really starting to rethink how they learn and learn to be more independent and be more self-driven. So my feedback, whether it's on assignments or reflections or proposals or just in conversation with them about what they're doing, I really feel like I could do a lot better at that. And I really feel like they need that, because without that direction and that feedback, I really think they're suffering. They don't know whether to keep going, how aggressively to keep going, to change. And it kind of ties in with now we're the other teacher and I, we actually reflected on this a couple of weeks ago, and we said, we really need to give students the opportunity to give meaningful feedback to each other. And I didn't really know what their experience level had been with this, how valid they think their peers' opinions are. But we finally got it in place this week so that the students are giving feedback. They're basically doing these pitches on their projects, and then they're getting feedback from 2 other peers. And that was what their reflection topic was this week, was talking about that experience, if the feedback they felt was meaningful, and if it impacted their project in any way. So it's been really difficult to, I think, give the level of support that I think students need. And I could be wrong. Maybe they don't need it to the level that I think they do. But just by observing and seeing the effort and the quality and quantity of work that the students are putting forth and the progress they're making or not making, it's really evident to me that they need that. They need that attention, especially in this early stage of the class. So as far as the goal for next week, I'm setting for myself is be much more timely with feedback, be much more authentic with feedback, and intervene. Now there's a certain population of the class that they're not really adhering to the feedback and the requests to be more thorough or deepen their thinking or turn in work. So that's going to have to be handled a little bit different way. And that's a good segue into the second piece on this weekly wrap-up. That's the independence part of creating a classroom where students get to learn about what they want to learn about. What we're finding is that with freedom, they're okay with the freedom part. The problem is that they're not all, and most of them I think are, but they're not choosing to leverage that freedom to work towards accomplishing their goals, or solidifying their project, or reaching out to mentors, or planning, or getting feedback, working on a prototype. I mean, all the things that are part of this process. Some are, and I think that a lot of them, maybe they came in with that skill set, perhaps, but many aren't. And we really wanted this class to be like no other class. I didn't want to constantly be hounding students. I think what our underlying assumption here is that if students are truly working on projects that are meaningful to them, then they will choose to use their time more productively when given a chance to do so. As a matter of fact, they'll love it so much they'll want to do it in other classes, and therein lies a bit of a problem. But I'm not really getting a strong sense that that's the approach that's being executed. And to me, that's evidence that what they're working on truly isn't something that they're passionate about. And maybe that's going to be the litmus test that we use to give feedback to students. Because obviously, if this was truly something you cared about, then when given an opportunity to further investigate, learn, prototype, kick around ideas, connect with people that are also interested in it, you're choosing not to do it, then you must not be interested in it. That might be true for some students. So that's been a bit of a frustration for me, because as an adult, I think there's a lot of adults that struggle with being able to identify things that they're passionate about. We're not really afforded an opportunity to really allocate time to discovering passions and then building upon them or doing something with them. So the fact that a 16-year-old can't appropriately identify his or her passion it's not the end of the world. But what they are being given is an opportunity to try to explore it. So with that in mind, next week, we're kind of reverse engineering it. We kind of focused on the feedback this week and then idea generation next week. We did a little bit of ideation, idea generation and iteration at the beginning of the course, really just to kind of kick off the spirit of the work we'll be doing. But we really haven't focused enough on the brainstorming and idea generation side of things. So next week, Monday, Tuesday, are going to be very heavily focused on solution generation, problem identification, idea generation, and iteration. That's a lot of Asians. But because I want students to employ some of these tactics on their own, in their own head, and have a mechanism to actually document these things, write them down, an idea notebook or whatever tool they want to use, so that they constantly have a menu of things that they want to try next. And I think that by generating this list, you're going to give them a menu of things that one of those things or two of those things could eventually become a passion for them. I think it's important that we slow down. Again, we've done that a lot in the class. Give some real time to this so that they can practice this. So that as they're getting feedback on projects, they don't get this sense of, okay, well, what do I do now? This project didn't work out. I have to come up with another idea. If they're perpetually building this list, or revising this list, they'll have a what next project. So it was all in all, we made progress, and even one step forward is progress. We actually said that after class today. Even one small step forward is still progress. And what we're building here is a different type of thinker. It's someone that looks at the world as opportunities, not as problems. And that's hard work. It's hard work. But we're making progress. So I look forward to next week. We've got some ideas of some ways that we can shake things up. We're going to put these things into place. I'm going to focus on making timely, personal, and authentic feedback a priority. And it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And I'm going to continue to exhibit the qualities and traits that we're trying for them to develop. I'm going to continue to build those within myself, leading by example and walking the walk. So look forward to giving you an update. Hope you have a great weekend. Stay tuned.